Hey, we're live.
Hi there, keeping me, keeping you. I'm Rochelle, and this is Chris.
How you
What have
going?
you been up to?
Not much. It's early in the morning, ready for coffee, I think. So, good start of the morning. Come sit down and have a chat.
We're talking all things once again cancer, PTSD, and how other people view it and how they see it. I've been speaking here with Chris and just going to ask him some general questions. So, Chris, what is your occupation?
I am in media currently, so I do a lot of photography, videography, things like that. And like here and there, work on ads, advertising, stuff like that. So, generally speaking, media is the title I give myself.
Okay, and your interests?
My interests are music, yet again. I'm a very creative person, so creative things, anything creative. I love creative stuff, movies, music, and I'm also into helping people. Not quite on the level as you are yet, but I strive to be there. So those kind of things.
Okay, and talking all things PTSD, what is your understanding on PTSD?
Very interesting question. I guess for me, it's very much more probably I'd go the media side of PTSD. I know of army based PTSD. Abuse, like violence, things like that. Like I associated PTSD more with that. I won't lie, we have chatted a bit, and I am starting to understand the other side of PTSD in terms of what you're doing. But yeah, my understanding basically was that trauma out of violence and that, like, that's always how I associated it. So yeah.
Okay, so here's the next big question. What are you looking for when you hear PTSD cancer?
Yeah, it was funny. The idea about it was that I always thought cancer being so big now and in the thing, I didn't really think much about PTSD to do with cancer. Like, honestly, I felt like it was a bit washed down and like a bit hidden because now, cancer's a killer, like a massive killer. That it seems like I'm starting to forget about cancer on any other level other than a killer. I have a friend though that has like I've got two friends that have both gone through cancer, and it wasn't until you said PTSD associated I all of a sudden went, okay, hold on. And if you went through something so traumatic as having cancer and everything involved, it would have like consequences I didn't even think about. Um, I got a bit embarrassed when I thought about the fact that I didn't know that. So yeah, I had no idea until honestly you really brought it up, um, and it made a lot of sense. So
Okay, so then let's flip the coin. Let's go PTSD and sports.
I actually struggle a lot with this concept. Like just being on an honest point is like I always thought that sports was a bit more of a depression state. Like for me, it was if you got injured or something like that, you would be depressed. Obviously, that you no longer had that, and you might have identified as that was your only you. You might have been I was going to be a pro swimmer, or I was going to have this. So for me, I really identified depression with it, but then I guess for like I'd love you to explain it to me how you did before because she actually pitched it perfectly to me and made me understand what PTSD for sport was. As I said, I saw it as this depression state, but you turned around and kind of filled in a blank. So you tell them what you told me.
So the cancer PTSD compared to the sports PTSD, for me, the sports PTSD is if you are just having a slight injury and you're a little bit depressed, and then they medicate you and you go do some programs, it's all good. You get back on track, you're back out there, you're back playing your sport, you're back in the field.
Mm.
The PTSD side is you are playing a sport, you get really badly injured, you come off the field, and then years down the track, you can no longer go back near that field. You can no longer associate yourself with that sport because you can no longer kick a ball around because you are constantly scared that you're going to injure yourself again.
And that's the thing is like I never thought about it that side. Like I'm so used to just the idea of just well that's what I was supposed to be, and so now that I can't, that sucks and bummer. And like I just always went back to the same depression we associate with anything. But it's very interesting. I never thought about those kind of things. I think some of that might be because either someone hasn't had it in my life and I haven't experienced it, or because I didn't understand it, I didn't know. So I'm sorry if anyone out there was struggling with something like that, and I honestly didn't know, because without awareness and also understanding the full dynamics, I guess, of PTSD, it's so easy to overlook so many people. Like, I also brought up the fact that as soon as you explained that, I was like, well, what about people on work sites, things like that? Like, all of a sudden, your mind just goes, oh wow, PTSD is massive. We obviously talk a lot about depression. It's common now. Like, we're bringing it up daily, but you're right. PTSD is so overlooked. So, like, yeah, as I said, I'm embarrassed to think that, like, there was so much I missed about that. So
That's fine, and like you've said before, because we fully don't understand it, coming across as someone. Chris has also said that. Also, what is it? Being normal, not, and then just not, being in those certain categories, not identifying as yourself as having PTSD, and then coming to terms with then knowing that you have PTSD and being accepted by fellow peers.
Well, the acceptance is a big one. Is like, I can associate it with, like, I've worked a bit with people that have depression, and I guess a similar thing now is with PTSD is these people, no matter who you are, if you've gone through something traumatic, you're no longer the same person coming out the other side. Like, you've got new fears, like, there's so much going on that anyone that wants you to go back to the old you is very naive, because you're not the old you and you can't go back. Like, if something traumatic's happened, the old you's gone and there is new you born, no matter on how small or big that is. So if someone's going through PTSD, for me, it's like, well, now, like, I've got to get to know the new you and really take that time and understand it from what you've been explaining. So she has done an amazing job. I'm going to give you props, because, like, I do feel very educated out of this. From my understanding, anyone going through PTSD is like, they feel very alone. So it's like, for anyone going through it that I personally know, it's like, I'm so sorry that you feel alone, because I was sitting there all along, but because I didn't understand, it flew by. And, it's sad to think that people like that go through anything like that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for your time here today.
Not a problem.
Keeping you. What have you been up to?